Hey, welcome to r/showerthoughts. If you've somehow been living under a rock and haven't heard of this in the last 2 years, this is a subreddit for sharing those miniature epiphanies that you have that highlight the oddities within the familiar. It's home to some of the biggest peepees and brains on all of Reddit, and that is not small praise. This is just a collection of some of my favorite posts that I saw from browsing there one day, and I figured I'd put this together for you guys. Enjoy the show. People enjoy reading novels, but also like history if it were taught in a different way. It's ironic that reality television isn't real. We can afford to give food and shelter to our 2.2 million prisoners, but giving food and shelter to our homeless population, that's about 550,000, is out of the question. It's about 4 million now, isn't it? No, 40 million because of this whole funny virus situation. Makes you think, doesn't it? Ants can't sit down. Every type of potato you eat will always be mashed, since before you swallow, you chew it until it became mashed. If voodoo dolls were real, you could make two random ones have sex, and it'll be hilarious. When the Kardashians go to sleep, they probably can't sleep laying on their backs since their butts are too big. Some Japanese want to be Westerners, and some Westerners want to be Japanese. The people on the ship in WALL-E were too fat and distracted to move. There were also babies on board. The babies must have been artificially made. Space battles would actually be completely silent, since sound can't travel through empty space. If you watch a classic horror movie slasher backwards, it is about a guy taking sharp objects out of people and running away. The afterlife is a conspiracy theory created by people who wanted to rule over followers' mind and to intimidate those who question or deny their ideology. You don't have to be a professional to have a strong opinion on something. Shrek has extremely clean clothes for an ogre who lives in the swamp. If you were expecting a surprise and you don't get it, it's still a surprise. Saying, "the sky is the limit," is bad advice for people that want to become astronauts. In high school, teachers actively try to help you. In your adulthood, everyone refuses to help you. We don't feel the objects, we just feel the indents they put in our skin. Unless you counted in binary on your fingers, you probably haven't experienced all 1024 unique combinations of putting your fingers up and down. We went from the information age immediately to the disinformation age. If ghosts are real, then cemeteries are a great idea, because when a person dies, they'll have other ghosts to socialize with. Darth Vader lost all 4 limbs and still went on to rule the galaxy, making him film's most successful disabled person. Dogs being clever surprises us because they seem so goofy and dumb. Cats being stupid surprises us because they seem so dignified and smart. Watching Toy Story is the only way to hear Tom Hanks being an asshole. He's always so nice in live-action movies. He did get to play Fred Rogers in that biopic made about him. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards, but he was Fred Rogers. So, if Fred Rogers wasn't the main star of that movie, who was it? I never watched it. Tell me in the comments. All things considered, it's pretty lucky we don't have to pay a subscription fee to have an email address. The death of Rick Astley will probably have a larger impact on internet culture than it will on pop culture. Clicking a mouse is sending a signal from your brain to your finger, to a computer's finger to its brain. Graduating high school is treated both as a monumental accomplishment and as a bare minimum accepted level of education. Dating a singer must really suck, because you know if you ever break up, you'd have a sad song written about you. Swimming is a really good sport for people who sweat a lot and are anxious about it. Drug tests are the only tests where having less knowledge of the subject makes you more likely to pass. Astronauts are the horniest people in space. Bunk beds are human shelves. You know, if we all agreed to it, we could live in the year 3000. It's crazy. Thinking about it, the meanest dogs we see in the movies and TV are probably the nicest, most obedient and well-trained dogs ever. Despite his fear of death, despite all his efforts to achieve immortality and all, Voldemort died at the age of 71, which is actually lower than the average Muggle. Knowing that wizards live even longer than Muggles, it makes it even more embarrassing for him. You inherited memories from a child that doesn't exist anymore. I think this one's too big brain for me. Is it talking about like the parents or the children? Or like the child version of you? Even though they have no correlation whatsoever, 7 times 9 is equal to 49, and Thursday feel the exact same. Speaking of the funny virus situation, we're living through stuff that kids will cheat about on tests in 30 years. It's crazy to think kids are going to be cheating about stuff that I'm living through right now, because all that I'm doing right now is sitting on my computer. Millennials are the most educated yet least paid generation ever. Something my pops always told me, but I just remembered it this morning in the shower. Every chance not taken is an opportunity missed. You should call her and see if she stopped playing hard to get. Maybe this time spilling the beans to her over the phone about all the desperate tendencies you picked up because of her absence. For example, have you reduced yourself to a piece of meat for your coworker with homosexual tendencies, Enrique, to oogle and grope at just to see if it made you feel anything at all? Confessing that to her, and how you've continued to act like the 5'4", 130 pounds when soaking wet femboy you fit the bill of for him, even though it never lit the spark you were looking for, it never caused any greater feeling, besides a hint of regret and embarrassment. It never even felt right or good to do any of the stuff he asked you to do for him. And even though the pit of embarrassment is expected to be in your stomach, nothing appears. Should you be upset with yourself? Angry? Pissed off that the only regular event in your life that you look forward to a little is to make a car built by robots in Japan bounce up and down for 20 minutes on alternating Wednesdays? You don't know what you were expected to feel, and disassociate yourself every time it happens. No matter how many times you meet up with him in his 2008 Suzuki to degrade yourself, nothing activates in your brain. All this just because that's the closest you've come to having any form of relationship with anyone after her. Maybe confessing is the right way to go. That's gotta enact some form of pity in her and win her over again. This time she'll pick up. This time she's gonna come crawling back. After all, who would want to lose a 25-year-old modern man like yourself? You're probably the full package, working at the local BuzzFeed chapter as a part-time journalist, and full-time gamer, geek, and proud cat dad on the side, which is also the bio in your verified Twitter account, with 2,400 followers. As well as your description on Reddit, a moderator account in over half the subreddits that Elon Musk might use. Once she finally wakes up to the fact that you're probably one of the best things that's happened to her in her comparatively much less interesting life, as she probably works as an oncologist or radiologist at this point. After all, she was working her way through medical school and she stopped responding to your texts, and you can't check her Facebook because she blocked you or changed her last name so you can't find her anymore, but you were pretty sure that she was studying something about tumors at one point. But that's all you heard from her about it because your fellow Discord admin gaming friends were always yelling too loud when you were trying to talk to her and play League at the same time. That's something that could happen. She needs the excitement of Neil deGrasse Tyson or Mark Hamill retweeting your fan theories in her life. You don't know how she's managed to last 2 years without you. Actually, it's probably 3 at this point, right? You can't remember. It's been long enough for you to hardly remember her face. You can remember her voice. But you don't like to, as the last time you tried to, the only memory you could scrounge up was something about how you wanting to show her the new Death Grips album devolved into her accusing you of sinking too much time into pointless things, like finding the meaning behind some techno-experimental quote-unquote garbage where a black guy screams, trying to expand your poly-Discord relationship, or farming karma on your favorite subs. Of course, that became the screaming match where she gave up on you and left your studio apartment and wouldn't return any of your calls. It's been a week, or half of one, so it's probably not a bad idea to check up on her again at this point. Wouldn't want her to think that you stopped caring after all these years. And maybe the bi-weekly calls you sent her were the only things keeping her on track, even if she just hung up after 2 rings. Of course you might want to bring it up to Enrique, but your relationship has been on the rocks since he locked you in that chastity belt after roofing the Impossible Whopper you bought before one of your late-night sessions. She has to pick up one of these times, right? She needed me. And my trivia knowledge. She didn't like geeky observations, like how guns can't fire in space or underwater, and how shot put is like really weird bowling. My associate's degree in journalism can't hold me back from her, and every day I feel closer to taking some action to see her again, and not the good kind. This fantasy I indulge myself in, standing up for myself, for my interests, to show her I care about what I do in my spare time, that I have some shred of confidence left in my subhuman, half-deformed, half-empty husk of the visions that my father and mother had of me. After all, after this time apart, studies show that love goes stronger, right? Edit. Thanks for the gold.